Why is the partnership that Zebec has with Near, and of course I'm talking about the Near protocol, why is that so rarely talked about? Well, in today's video, I'm going to give my take on it to the best of my capabilities, and later on I'll talk about some updates that I saw recently when it comes to Zebec, but even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, I feel like the reason why Zebec and its partnership with Near isn't really talked about that much, I think it's because it happened such a long time ago, even though I'd actually like to argue that it matters a lot. Because Zebec, we saw them talk about Near like back in January of 2023. Even at that time, I was not a fan yet when it comes to Zebec. I became a fan of Zebec later on in 2024. But I'm saying, at that time, a lot of people didn't really believe in Zebec, so of course, naturally, its partnership when it comes to Near, because it happened so long ago, a lot of people just didn't really catch that, right? A lot of people just didn't really know it even happened in the first place. But a lot of things have happened ever since then when it comes to Near and also Zebec. But I think that partnership right there is actually very impressive because Near, it's really focused on AI. We got to think about that, right? Actually, allegedly, Near makes up the largest percentage in Grayscale's decentralized AI fund. Let's just let that sink in for a bit. Grayscale is really massive. Take a look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, for instance. Keep in mind, in Grayscale's decentralized AI fund, Near makes up a larger percentage when compared to BitTensor's native token called Tau, which is kind of ridiculous, some people would like to say. They'd be like, what, really? But allegedly that's the case. BitTensor, arguably, when it comes to AI, it's a lot more popular when compared to Near. But then we see that in terms of Near, right? Again, making up the largest percentage in terms of the holding when it comes to Grayscale's decentralized AI fund. So I think that partnership, in hindsight, that Zebec has with Near, it's starting to kind of, I think, become a lot more important, right? Because at that time, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't really care. Like, for instance, when Zebec made this post back then, like in January of 2023, it only had 114 likes, or hearts, I should say, right? Because it's on X, but I'm just saying it had 114 hearts. Kind of, I guess, impressive, right? If I think about it in hindsight, that they even had that partnership and the lack of engagement that had back then, I think kind of showcased how it wasn't really something so considered at that time, but I think it matters a lot as of right now. I think also something else that people often overlook when it comes to Near is that it does have an aspect of sharding technology, which some people may be thinking, like, what is that? Now, let's take this into consideration. Through sharding, the network is split into multiple sections known as shards. Now, workload on the network, they're distributed amongst these different shards, and as a result, it becomes very scalable. So Near, it's very known for its scalability. It does have an aspect of sharding technology, though, so it doesn't surprise me. Now, granted, people like to say, but you know what, Near, it's not the only project out there that has an aspect of sharding technology. True. We take a look at, for instance, Zilliqa, which allegedly is the world's first ever sharding-based blockchain. We also take a look at Harmony, for instance, which is another project out there that has an aspect of sharding technology. But I'm just saying, when I take a look at Near, the aspects of sharding technology, and I take a look at its focus on AI, I think in hindsight, again, it seems like very impressive that Zebec was even able to have a partnership with Near back then, and how they even had the foresight, right, to even think about that in the first place. Very impressive in my opinion. And also, let's take this into consideration. Not too long ago, it was reported, right, that Zebec actually, some members of its team, supposedly, to my understanding, it was at Consensus Miami. Now, people may be thinking, what is that? Now, Consensus, some people would like to call it kind of the main event. Some people call it like the Super Bowl of blockchain events. Some people would like to call it, I've even heard someone talk about how it's the WrestleMania of blockchain events. I mean, okay, I guess it's cool, yeah. But besides that point, when I take a look at that right there, I think that was pretty impressive because a lot of people attended Consensus in Miami. And that event right there marked, I think, a pretty special occasion when it comes to Zebec because actually, the Zebec team actually was at the Circle Alliance program booth because we do know that Circle, it's a backer when it comes to Zebec, And also, furthermore, Zebec is a Circle Alliance program member, so then of course it's only natural, I suppose, that some of the people from the Zebec team was at the Circle Alliance program booth, which is pretty impressive, right? I mean, Circle to a certain extent, I think, acknowledges Zebec. So when people just say, oh, Circle doesn't really care about Zebec, sometimes I kind of disagree with that. Not only, again, is Circle literally a backer when it comes to Zebec, but Zebec's team, I guess some of them, right, was at the Circle Alliance program booth at Consensus Miami. So that's pretty impressive. Not to mention, we have to take a look at this as well. Circle allegedly holds a big amount of ZBCN, or should I say Zebec? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of impressive if I think about that. So this whole culmination, right, this stew, this kind of pot, I would say, of what Zebec has been cooking up as of late. I do find it to be pretty impressive. Keep in mind, at Consensus Miami, we saw Zebec, right? Its team members, I should say. And then at XRP Las Vegas, we saw Simon, the CEO of Zebec. Not only did he talk about a Ripple partnership, or announce it, I should say, at that event, but you know what? Zebec's like, okay, that's not enough. We got to also think about Consensus Miami. And again, Consensus is often considered like the Super Bowl of blockchain events, some people would like to say. So this is all just pretty massive in my opinion. Now, granted though, it hasn't done much to the charts when it comes to Zebec, but that's not my main concern anyways. My main point of contention is, I guess, caring about a project's activity. If I see activity, then it makes it very difficult for me to just like give up like that. I still care about projects that still update and the ones that I actually do like, fundamentally speaking. Granted, is attending Consensus really like the greatest thing of all time? Probably not, some people would like to say, but it's still a pretty big milestone, I think, for Zebec nonetheless. Now, keep in mind as well, around Miami, it was actually spotted, right, that there was like a digital truck. You know those trucks that like the back portion of it is just like a digital screen? But yeah, besides that point, and actually Zebec posted a picture of this digital truck, right, that was kind of, cruising, I guess, around Miami, and it had like the Zebec branding. Digital, of course, but still not bad, right? I mean, advertising, I suppose. Did I see like a lot more people talk about Zebec because of that? No, right? I mean, it was cool though, but it was just a detail that I felt like mentioning. When I take a look at Zebec, people like to say, wow, in the past 24 hours, it's went down like around 1%. Okay, I mean, that's not even what I care about. What I care about is more so of the long term. So as of right now, my kind of focus is still the same. It's more so about the long term. But in the meantime, of course, I like to make updates because I feel like it's crucial, right? I mean, if a project has a lot of holders, which Zebec does at over 100,000 holders, and considering how a lot of these projects are very community driven, it's important to see updates from the project itself. Even though some projects out there have a different ethos where they don't really want to update much, but I think it still matters at the end of the day. And again, I'll be sure to make more updates though moving forward, so hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. And I want to say thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.